This is Psycho Fox. It's about 35 years old and was pretty obscure even back then. I'm not going to pretend I'm reliving childhood memories or anything. I didn't even know this existed myself until at least 15 years after it was released. By then, I was off to college. It was 3 console generations later, and what would be Sega's final console, the Dreamcast, was already a bit dated at that point. Despite that, Psycho Fox still made me feel nostalgic in some way, if that makes any sense. But despite almost everyone who already knew about it remembering it fondly, I don't think I've ever seen anyone well-known actually do a review of it or even play it. I think AVGN mentioned it offhand once, and that's about it. To begin with, the physics are not kind to someone who grew up playing Mario. It's not really fair to say they're bad though, and for the most part the game is built around it reasonably well once you get used to it. And anyway, nobody ever got good by insisting it's the game that sucks. His basic attack is punching, which is the correct choice, and admirably he's good enough at it that you'll still be relying on your fists even when you have your little crow buddy power-up Birdfly. Although, to be fair, that's partly because you either have to pick him back up or wait for him to fly back every time you attack with him. Oh boy, these red hoppy things are my favorite. The fuck are they supposed to be anyway? Oh, they're red hoppers. Of course. Wait, Bun Bun? Didn't Bun Bun do the sound compose for Mega Man? Everyone's always complaining about the water temples in Legend of Zelda being a pain in the ass, but this game doesn't need that. The water itself can be absolutely impossible if you don't know how to handle it. Now, you do have what appears to be 4 different characters. I'll explain that a bit better later, but don't bother. None of them can swim, not even Murray here. What you have to do is run straight into it. No jumping at all, and somehow you'll skip across it on your ass. Again, this isn't a bad mechanic, but who's gonna help you if you don't have the instructions or the internet to look it up? Trying to solve water by running directly at it so you can use your own butt cheeks as a skipping stone is possibly the most perfectly counterintuitive thing I've ever seen in a game. But there's some fairly clever parts too. These ball dispenser things might feel like a load of shit at first, but if you're paying attention, you might notice that they have a slot that lets you see the ball just soon enough to properly time your jumps. Wait, the end of the 3rd level? Isn't a boss fight supposed... Oh. Yep, you saw that correctly. If you overshoot an edge but try and correct yourself, this game uses the cartoon cliff gag to give you a grace period of about 1 extra tile. In short, this is a surprisingly good game on a fairly obscure console, at least obscure here in America. As far as most of us were aware, Sega got into the game with the Genesis. You know, because that's nearly exactly what that name is supposed to mean. But if I understand correctly, it actually enjoyed decent popularity over in Europe, Australia, and Brazil. So, for anyone across the pond that should happen to be watching, I hope you enjoy this comparison of my experience with Psycho Fox to the experience nearly every American goes through as a child concerning the word football. Let's start with Fox. Well, no problem there, he's right on the title screen and you definitely play as him. As I mentioned before though, there are 3 other decidedly un-Vulpine species you can also play as instead. What's more, the titular Fox hasn't just stolen Mario's walk cycle from Super Mario 1, but also his lack of strong ability from the US version of Super Mario 2. So you will likely be playing as something besides a fox for a decent chunk of the game. Of course, you can make the argument that you technically do play as a fox the whole time regardless, and if nothing else, you at least have to kick things off in fox form. Now, let's look at Psycho. Psychopath, psychotic, psychokinetic, psychonaut. Whatever they meant by psycho, it's gonna be a little less straightforward. I mean, looking at him square in the face like that, he sure looks like he could be a psycho, but otherwise... I think we're going to need to step away from the analogy and establish some kind of baseline if we're going to make a valid call here. Let's take a look, shall we? Does he ever try to take over China by making the Emperor sick? No? Okay, to be fair, our allegedly psycho Fox is a protagonist and Tamamo is about as close to being actually evil as a fox can get in stories like this. We will generously call her morally dubious and disallow any actual bad guys. Sorry, Ninetales from Okami, you're the psycho we deserve, but not the one we need right now. How about play a bunch of pranks that could potentially devastate the local economy and then condescendingly snicker when you're called out on it? Have you ever laughed while lurking in the shadows like a straight-up villain while your supposed friend tells you that she never cared about her own mother? These are all from East Asia so far. Let's broaden our scope a bit. Ever lie about where your fish came from to trick a wolf into freezing his ass to the lake? Would you fuck a pigeon, specifically to create mutant hybrids and take over the world? Were you ever going to have a movie made about you, but then halfway through they had to pretend it was about Robin Hood instead because, well, we'll start with the good news. It was your uncle that was blood related, so it wasn't actually incestuous when you raped your own aunt. Okay, let's give this every benefit of the doubt and step away from fiction altogether. Ever steal anything for no other reason than being a pain in the ass? Ever lick a window to feel the cool glass on your tongue with no regard for who might be watching? Have you ever found yourself on a magnificent bouncing contraption only to be more enthralled by its texture instead? I'm pretty sure I can actually check a good number of these off myself, and I'm not even I still could have checked them off before I flunked out of Buddhism. So on one hand, that's a pretty broad target of psycho that our supposedly psycho fox conspicuously lacks any criteria for. On the other hand, maybe that just means that because he is a fox, the psycho part is just part and parcel. As much as we can't prove he is a psycho of some kind, we can't definitively say he isn't either. Overall, Psycho Fox might be a bit of a stretch, but it certainly isn't the worst offender. I mean, there is not a single donkey to be found anywhere in Donkey Kong after all, and nobody thinks twice about that. At the end of the day, it's a fitting enough name. The only reason any of the doubts I pointed out would even matter at all is if there were somehow something else in that context that would be more fitting. You know, like some crazy fucker wearing anime sunglasses in a dark cave with a grin taken straight from the Chuck Jones Grinch, tongue notwithstanding. Damn, what a psycho. And what's this? He looks to be, completely unambiguously, a fox. Gee, it's almost like this guy's some kind of psycho fox. But that's not football, it's soccer. This one's football. Seriously, in case everyone outside the US is as stupid about our culture as we are about everyone else's, you might be surprised to know that we're not just aware of soccer, but it's actually so ubiquitous that the typical minivan driving mother picking up kids from their after-school activities are often called soccer moms because every single child who's ever played a sport has almost certainly been on a soccer team at one point. And every single one with an ounce of curiosity has had that moment where they wonder, wait a minute, why isn't this the one that's called football? Look, the end boss is even right in the center of the box art. I had to look it up to be sure, and yep, this is Mad Fox Daimyojin and not Psycho Fox, despite being the most psycho fox in the game by a wide margin any way you cut it. Psychopathic? He became a priest to abuse his power. That's exactly the shit actual psychopaths do. Psychotic? Tell me this guy does not look psychotic. Psychokinetic? I mean, shit, that would explain the lightning. Psychonaut? This is the only one our supposedly Psycho Fox can even hold a candle to on account of that magic medicine. But again, look at this guy and tell me psychedelics weren't involved. Upon further research, it seems like it was fairly common for games produced in Japan at the time to use the word psycho when they actually meant psychic. So maybe that's what happened? It doesn't exactly clear things up though. Here, let me see if I can make Psychic Fox make a little more sense. Beijing noticed that the young guy hadn't left yet, so he took the opportunity to ask him, "Hey, who are you?" "Well, you see, I attacked a small child with his knife, so I got reborn as a wild fox. Now I guess I'm just gonna take over the world or something." Psycho Fox's nest confirmed. Fuck, this is a dated reference. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Honestly, I still don't even know if this channel is going anywhere yet, but I've already got most of the script written for my next one. I did not expect making videos to be this much fun. Oh, and since the music is either stuff I arranged myself again or straight up taken from game footage, there's no link for that in the description, but I am going to put one for that black and white Japanese cartoon since you can actually find it here on YouTube. Seriously, it's kinda wild. They use a classical ensemble for the soundtrack just like old rubber hose style western cartoons, except it's traditional Japanese music. And it's about a fox, so that's pretty cool. I could do without the ending though. Okay, bye.